Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Fluctus Channel. Tanker aircraft are some of the strangest machines in military aviation because their combat value is not found in dropping bombs or firing missiles, but in giving other aircraft the freedom to stay airborne far longer than they could on their own. Aerial refueling turns fighters, bombers, and surveillance aircraft into long-range instruments of power. That is why tankers are often called gas stations in the sky. A single KC-135 Stratotanker can carry about 200,000 pounds of fuel, and its purpose is to move that fuel into another aircraft while flying at high speeds and frightful altitudes. That process begins long before the receiver appears. KC-135 takes off heavily loaded, climbs out, and settles into the choreographed procedures of a refueling mission. In the cockpit, the pilot and co-pilot manage the aircraft and navigate to the assigned track. Behind them, a lone crew member occupies the most unusual position on the aircraft: the boom operator in the rear of the plane. The Air Force calls the KC-135 a three-person aircraft, with that boom operator stationed in the back to control the flying boom during in-flight refueling. Once in flight, the work becomes intense. The receiver aircraft approaches from behind, inches closer, and holds position while the boom operator guides the boom into the receptacle. This is not guesswork. It happens at altitude, at hundreds of knots, with two aircraft close enough that small errors become dangerous. One Air Force article on boom operators noted that these gigantic tankers can pass thousands of pounds of fuel while flying thousands of feet above the ground at around 200 knots, all while only about 47 feet from colliding with the receiver. That is why tanker crews train so relentlessly. The actual boom operation process makes the compartment itself feel like a separate aircraft embedded in the tanker. The operator works in the rear station, watching the receiver close in and controlling the boom with delicate movements. During these procedures, the cockpit and the boom station are two halves of one refueling machine. The pilots keep the tanker steady. The boom operator completes the contact. If either side loses discipline, the entire geometry of the refueling breaks down. That is why the challenges facing tanker pilots and boom operators are mental, physical, and constant from takeoff to final disconnect. And then there is one of the most human details in the story. In one event from September 2018, an aerial refueling crew embraced the old phrase, "pie in the sky," literally. With Senior Airman Jordan Smith making pizza for the crew, while also serving as the boom operator who refuels jets. It is a remarkable little moment because it shows how strange life can become on a long tanker mission. 1 minute, the aircraft is extending the reach of combat aviation. Next, the crew is sharing a hot meal inside a giant flying fuel truck. Not all aerial refueling uses the same method either. The boom system is the KC-135's primary fuel transfer method. But another type uses probe and drogue refueling, where the receiver aircraft plugs a probe into a hose-mounted basket trailing from the tanker. That method is common in naval and marine aviation, and it changes the choreography completely. Instead of a rigid boom guided into place by the tanker, the receiver aircraft must fly into the drogue and maintain contact while fuel flows. It is another example of how tankers are not just flying gas pumps. They are specialized aviation platforms built around difficult procedures, unusual crew roles, and one enormous fact. Without tankers, many combat aircraft cannot go nearly as far, stay as long, or hit as hard. But the miracle of aerial refueling only works because tanker aircraft survive an entirely different battle on the ground. Maintenance. The KC-135 first entered service in 1956. And that means many of the airframes supporting refueling missions today trace their origins back across decades of modernization, repair, and constant upkeep. The tanker may still look familiar in the sky, but keeping an aging fleet ready for global operations is a robust technical effort in its own right. That effort begins with the simplest things, including washing the aircraft and the boom. Cleaning a tanker is not cosmetic vanity. It helps crews inspect the skin, protect the airframe, reduce corrosion, and see problems before they grow to ground the aircraft or limit its overall performance. Around the boom, maintenance and cleaning become even more important because the refueling system itself has to function smoothly and safely every time another aircraft closes in behind it. General maintenance pushes much deeper. Technicians work through hydraulic systems, engines, structures, avionics, and the countless small components that allow a decades-old aircraft to keep meeting modern demands. New maintenance technology has become part of that survival. The Air Force has highlighted advanced tools that help keep aging tankers flying by improving how parts are assessed, repaired, or produced, which matters because older fleets always reach the point where traditional supply chains alone are no longer enough. A tanker can remain useful for generations, but only if maintainers are just as adaptable as the aircraft is old. That is what makes the phrase black-letter aircraft so revealing. In tanker maintenance culture, earning a black-letter aircraft means maintainers have produced a plane that is fully mission-capable, with no discrepancies written against it. For a reserve maintenance crew to earn that status is not just administrative success. It is proof that an aircraft designed in the Cold War can still stand ready for immediate mission use because people on the ground have done their job to the letter. The deeper story, then, is that the tanker mission is divided between crews in the air and crews on the ground. The air crew gets the attention because refueling is dramatic, but the maintainers are the reason the dramatic part can happen at all. And without that ground effort, the giant airborne gas station never leaves the ramp. Maintenance also carries its own kind of pressure. A tanker may launch at night, deploy overseas, or support multiple aircraft in one mission, so small defects are never truly small. Crews inspect panels, service components, verify hydraulics, and work through the aircraft section by section because an aging airframe stays relevant only through relentless attention. That is the hidden price of keeping a flying gas station alive, decade after decade. Every successful refueling begins long before takeoff, with maintainers on the ground making sure the old tanker is still worthy of the sky. Every night, every launch, every time. And that leads directly to the future of tanker aviation, because the US Navy is now trying to move part of this mission to an aircraft with no crew on board at all. The Boeing MQ-25 Stingray is designed to become the world's first operational, carrier-based, unmanned aircraft. built primarily to provide aerial refueling for the carrier air wing. The Navy says that integrating a persistent sea-based tanker into the carrier force will extend the range of deployed aircraft and free manned fighters from spending so much of their time serving as buddy tankers. Instead of dedicating valuable strike fighters to support roles, the Navy wants a purpose-built tanker drone to carry more of that burden. The dimensions alone show that this is not a small drone. The MQ-25 measures about 51 feet long, with a wingspan of 75 feet spread and 31.3 feet when folded, powered by a Rolls-Royce AE3007N engine. It is large enough to operate from carriers and serious enough in design to change how the air wing thinks about range. The Navy has also planned for all Nimitz and Ford-class carriers to eventually become MQ-25 capable, which shows the scale of the ambition behind the program. The historical events already captured in MQ-25 test footage make that ambition tangible. On the 4th of June 2021, the MQ-25 program completed the first ever aerial refueling operation between a manned receiver aircraft and an unmanned tanker, using an FA-18 Super Hornet as the receiver. That was not just a routine flight test. It was a first in naval aviation history. Later that same summer, testing expanded to other receiver aircraft. The program successfully refueled an E-2D Advanced Hawkeye. And then, on the 13th of September 2021, an F-35C Lightning II, proving that the aircraft could support different members of the carrier air wing using the Navy's standard probe and drogue method. The refueling pod is central to that process. It is the hardware that carries and deploys the hose and drogue system the receiver aircraft plugs into. And the pod installation procedure helps explain why the MQ-25 is not simply a flying robot with fuel inside. It is a carefully configured tanker aircraft with the external equipment needed to deliver fuel reliably in the exact form naval aircraft expect. Once the pod is installed, pre-flight becomes the next critical step. Crews inspect the aircraft, verify the pod, confirm the air vehicle's readiness, and treat the unmanned tanker with much of the same seriousness given to a manned aircraft preparing for an important mission. What makes the MQ-25 so important is not just that it can refuel aircraft. It is that it may reshape how carriers use their people and aircraft. A persistent tanker drone means more range and more flexibility for the strike group as a whole. It also means the long story of the gas station in the sky is evolving. First came the crude tanker, with pilots, boom operators, and pizza shared in a giant fuel truck above the clouds. Then came the maintenance miracle that kept aging aircraft flying farther and longer. And now comes the tanker drone, carrying that same mission into a future where even aerial refueling will no longer require a crew on board. No more crewmen cooking pizza meals between refueling stunts. From the KC-135 to the MQ-25, the purpose remains the same. Keep friendly aircraft flying farther, longer, and more effectively. A military aircraft that can stay in the sky far beyond the endurance of a conventional plane will consistently achieve superior results than its adversaries, whether in times of peace or in the midst of war. That is the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of our new content. See you next time.